Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
So in today's episode, ladies, we are very pleased to have Ekaterina Stepanova on our show. She is into mobile home parks and just was a wealth of knowledge around that area. I think what I appreciated most, which I think you will appreciate most in terms of this asset class, she went into some really great specifics on how much single family home should be in the area to consider a mobile home park. A tool to figure out if your studio apartments are this in the community, how much are you offering the value per lot rent? Just some really good nitty gritty details she shared that I think if this is an asset class you either want to grow in or get more involved in will be helpful to you.
Absolutely. And she's an immigrant from Moscow, Russia. As an immigrant myself, I want to just highlight that for all the immigrants that are listening to us right now. She is a clear example that you don't need to be in real estate since you were born in order to invest it. And she started investing a couple of years ago, and she's been very successful with what she's doing. So if you're an immigrant, if you have an accent, this is for you. If you don't have one, this is for you too. Okay, enjoy.
Welcome back, ladies. This is Liz.
And this is Andressa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Investor Show, where we're on a very just excited mission to support women living a financially free and balanced life. That is our mission. That is what we're all up to with everything that we're involved in. So thanks for listening. We know there's a lot of competing interests for all of our attention daily. So thank you for listening. And we appreciate you so much. So we have Ekaterina on our show today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, ladies. So happy to be here with you.
Yeah, she's got an amazing journey, literally journey here to the United States, and what she's up to and investing in business. She's really neat stuff. So we're going to jump into her story in a moment. But as we like to do, we like to connect with all of you listening. Like we're looking at you right now. We're not obviously, but we envision you out there and just appreciate you so much and want to connect with you. So we always like to share a tip or something that's useful to share with you here at the beginning. So Andressa, what is coming up for you? What would you'd like to share?
Yesterday I didn't prepare, but I ended up being in a Facebook Live with a friend of mine in Brazil and other people. She's a coach there. And then I saw her popping up and I went there to say hi. And she's like, I want to bring you in. And then we start talking to her clients about, their mindset, how to get unstuck or how to figure things out. And she was asking, like, it doesn't matter what situation it is, right? Obviously, with this pandemic, it's something that we are all trying to navigate and keep the good spirits. Sometimes it's just unavoidable to feel down or to feel fear. So my point was like, how can you get back? Not to just avoid or try to push away or say, no, I don't want to feel it or ignore the feeling that you're feeling. Just embrace it. And how can you get back? And I was thinking about it in order to answer her. And I went back to like, what do I do when I feel stuck or I feel out of my normal self? I reach out to my community. My community are my core friends that I have on my corners that put me in place again. They do not tolerate me complaining to them or being a victim. They will hear me for a minute or two, right? But then they come back to, okay, what can you control? What can you take responsibility for? And what can you put in place?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. And based on what we're going on right now, we can control two things, right? How we treat our body, the food that we're eating, and how we treat our mind. What we are feeding our mind with news, with meditation, with breathing practices and things like that. Books, podcasts, this is an example. So those are the two things that we can control. Anything else? It's for later.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah. And it's so important, right? It comes back to us personally and taking kind of like, are we the victim? My nephew got into a situation many months ago, just being a 13-year-old boy. But regardless, he's like, I could either be a victim or a victor. And I was like, that's really true, right? Which one are we? So I love that, Andressa. You helped me get unstuck many a days, whether I want to hear it sometimes or not, to be honest with you. But
That's the point. And I can say the same thing to you, because I call you because you're not going to take my BS. You're going to tell as it is, and that's what I need.
That's what you need. Well, Ekaterina, you're also, I know, someone who stands for that too. I see your posts, and we've been following each other for a long time and have a mutual respect for each other. So, there's so many questions we have for you because, just love your journey. But let's start with, how did you get involved in real estate investing? What pulled you into this? There's a lot of things we can do. Why real estate investing?
Sure. Well, ladies, thank you very much. I love, your synergy. I love your partnership. I love how genuine that is. And I love how you built ladies up and support. And this is a true community based on service and contribution. I love it. So thank you very much. I'm happy to be on with you today. And as for real estate investing, that was let's say, the passion that found me. I was not searching for it. I was born in Moscow, Russia, and real estate situation there is could not be any more different than the situation in the United States. Real estate investing does not really exist like that. People do own their own, I'm from Moscow, so that's the capital. People do own apartments there, but they don't really invest in the second, third home with the hopes of making a profit or anything like that. They would invest to just house their families. So that was my first step. And I, as early as I could remember, I thought, okay, so my first step would be to purchase my first apartment, my home. That would be it's usually one apartment, it's for life. So I thought that would, I just was so excited to do that for my family. So when I was 24 years old, I purchased my first apartment, which was a tiny little apartment in the suburbs of Moscow. I was thrilled. It was a shoebox and it needed renovation. I couldn't be happier. Closed on it. Then we renovated it while living in there. And that's how I got started in it. And I saw how the value went up after we renovated, and then immigration happened. So this is when, again, I noticed how when the market goes up, how the value you created makes a huge difference. So by then later on also selling that apartment and realizing the full financial benefit of it, I really got a taste of how this works. And in the United States, you can make it's your life work, pretty much your whole journey. So that's how I got started. That's what really got me excited and just a little more familiar with it.
So you mentioned that you migrated to the US. Walk through that specific journey about what exactly did you focus on when you got started here in the US, and why? Why did you choose that specific strategy to start your investment journey?
Well, I wish it was structured and planned and by choice.
We all wish that, but it never happens.
Right? It's always so neat and structured, isn't it? So, and well, when I got here, right, ladies, I came because my then husband, he just graduated from conservatory. He is an opera singer. Still is, even though we're no longer together. So, and after graduation, he said, you know what, I might have a great career in the United States. Why don't I go to New York? I said, okay, so why don't you go ahead and try? A few months later, he told me, you need to come. This is amazing. I'm going to be a big star. I came, $130 in my pocket, We know no one. We live in a room on a mattress in Astoria, Queens. Living the dream.
It's amazing.
This is after I had, it's amazing. I'm telling you, ladies, and this is from the bottom of my heart. The moment I stepped out of the airport, of the plane, I smelled the smell, the air in New York. I was like, this is my place. This is where I'm gonna live. This feels like home. So yeah, that just felt right from the get-go, and we were just making it happen. We were just taking it step by step, and everything, even though it might look a little hard and it wasn't convenient, you don't have infrastructure of your family, of your friends, you don't really know how things are done, because simply it's like a different world. You went from Earth to Mars and you're starting there from scratch. But it's such an exciting journey if this is really what you want, and just having this experience. It's such an incredible experience, and I would wish everyone to do something in their life, something that is so exciting and so different, to just give yourself a shot, this opportunity to go all out and try something.
It's funny though. I came to New York too, right? I didn't like the smell, to be honest. And I remember a funny story, but it's true, right? I totally not prepared. It's January and I want to do a bus tour, and the smart person here does a bus tour on the outside. I want to be on top to see everything. When I realized that this part on my cheek here, it's completely numb, frozen. I was not wearing gloves. Listen, it was a horrible situation. So we had different experiences here. I was like, I want to get out of here. When I get out of here, this is not it.
I came in May.
Beautiful.
It was May 5th. Yeah, so it was a beautiful weather. It was sunny, and in Moscow the weather is, it's pretty cold, pretty gray.
Exactly. So this is beautiful here, right, compared to there. So if you fast forward a couple of months or years later, what was your first deal here in the U.S.?
So I started looking into real estate when I was in a position to do so. First, I purchased my apartment here in Riverdale, New York. I purchased apartment. I treated it as a little bit of an investment, because I purchased it a little bit bigger, a little bit, in a little bit of upcoming area, so to speak. So I thought, it might be a good first step. Then I started looking. I always thought, commercial was not even in a picture. So I thought, okay, let me study. I went to Bigger Pockets. I found Bigger Pockets, and I was reading. And I thought, probably the safest way to get myself started would be a turnkey investment, as I know nothing about nothing. And in New York and in a tri-state area, it's kind of expensive. So maybe I'll look out of state. So I started networking also and communicating with the folks on Bigger Pockets who have done so. And then I did my research and invested in Memphis. And that was my first step, my first investment. And then I'm saying that it's very fortunate that I have a property management company in place. And I vetted them, researched them, and did all the steps that you're kind of supposed to take prior to investing. And then it was just an amazing mixture, sequence of events. It just so happened that I had 2 evictions in the course of just 6 months. It was completely unheard of, and they never had anything like that. And I couldn't really blame them. Maybe a few minutes, but just move on. So that very fortunate situation made me look into commercial real estate, because I thought, it's 100% vacancy. If one of your units is experiencing, for example, eviction turnover, this is 100% vacancy. I'm not getting financial free, doing this one unit at a time. How many units? Like, it's going to take me years, a decade to get to my financial freedom, which was always very appealing to me. And I guess I just really wanted to know how it feels. Not that for money necessarily, but I just wanted to know how it feels. How is it? What am I going to do when I wake up and I don't have to work? What is it I'm going to do first thing? So with that in mind, I thought, okay, commercial real estate then. And I started researching commercial real estate. I had a mentor at that time, Gina Barbaro, and Jake and Gina community, just fantastic. Love them. And he suggested, okay, so why don't you look into multifamily? I started networking with brokers, looking at deals, evaluations, and then also Matt and Liz, they were coming to New York for the meetups, and they were talking about their journey and your guys' progress, how you started with a smaller multifamily and how you started gradually looking at the larger and larger deals and how you became comfortable with those. So that was also very helpful kind of in painting a picture of how commercial real estate investing is even possible. So these were kind of stepping stones. But for me, I guess why I ultimately to date have not followed that path is it was very competitive. The market was really hot. And I thought, you know what, I don't really know people who I can partner up with and go into that venture. So I thought maybe I'll look into something less competitive, where I could maybe make a bigger move. And so this is when Gino said, okay, so you found the mobile home parks. Why don't you go and study what you can? So this is when I started learning about parks.
And tell us a little about your first, and that's cool, by the way. I didn't realize that. So I thank you for sharing that. That's cool. It's like sometimes you go speak and you don't even know if what you're saying is helping anybody. Yeah. So it's always good to share that. So tell us a little bit about, and before we go there, I wanted to actually mention to the women listening, I think it's actually very interesting to how passive or active do you want to be initially? And I think that's a very important question that does not get asked enough. Mm-hmm. And turnkey is a way to get involved in real estate in a more passive way. You're going to be paying a little higher prices, more retail, but don't discount that as an option, women listening. I think that doesn't get talked enough about as a really good option for some people, depending on how active or passive they want to be. And I think if you want to be active, to be passive initially is actually a very smart strategy where people will, be part of syndications, but ultimately want to be on the general partner side, right? Mm-hmm. So don't discount that as a strategy. Syndications, turnkey, whatever it is, but it's a passive way to get involved in the business, and it may be just what you want to do eventually. But regardless, I just wanted to mention that. So let's go to mobile home parks, because I think there's a lot of talk, especially with everything happening, right? Mobile home parks are getting a lot of attention, especially in our world of real estate investing. I've seen it on a bunch of different webinars so far. They've always been intriguing to people, but now, especially I'm obviously heavily in multifamily. Andres is involved, which, a lot of multifamily as well as, construction side. So we're very heavily in that world. So I'm curious to get your perspective around, not just selfishly, of course, but for the women listening. Yeah. Why mobile home park? How did you assess it? Where did you go to learn about, assessing it? What did you use from the previous kind of process that you went through? And then where are you today? And how did you, there's a lot of questions in there, but just, what did that first deal look like? How did you assess it? How did you figure out this was the right investment for you? Yeah, of course.
So first off, when starting learning about mobile home park investing, I was listening to podcasts. I was listening to Kevin Bob's podcast a lot, a lot. And then there wasn't much on Bigger Pockets for that topic. So it was mostly podcasts. And then Gino said, okay, he was my mentor at the time. And he said, okay, so if you want to learn more, you need to find some you need to get a mentor in that industry. You need to get to learn. So I started emailing Kevin and his partner. I said, guys, I will work for you for free. I'll intern for you. I'll do whatever, guys, you want me to do. I just really, really, really want to learn the business. And they, it took me a few emails, and then they said, actually, we are launching a course. And you're very much welcome to come and join. And I think I was their first student in that course the moment it opened up. So I took their academy classes. Unfortunately, it's no longer available. It was open for just a little while. And so I took classes, and that was also a weekly, we had weekly calls when you report on your progress and what you've done, what you've tried. And the course was so amazing. It will teach you step by step how to search for park owners, how to build a database of those park owners so you can go directly and market to them directly. So I was learning every single step from the very, very beginning to then evaluating the park, how to look at the deal. Because with the mobile home parks, there are many different aspects which come into play, including infrastructure. Infrastructure could be private utilities, could be city utilities. You need to know materials, age, condition of that infrastructure. You need to be able to evaluate this infrastructure. Again, there are park-owned homes versus tenant-owned homes. Evaluate those, age, condition, size, hard code, all those things. Size, location, and many of the things that would be similar to multifamily in terms of economy is economy. When you look at the specific area, you just want it to be on the up and up, and you want the one specific thing, probably for mobile home parks. When we're looking at underwriting a deal and we're looking at economic situation and the housing situation in that area, you would want to make sure that single family homes are valued at over 100,000 generally. You don't want your mobile home competing in the price range with the single family homes. You want, of course, medium income be higher than probably 35, 40,000. You would want, this area, you would always want to check out the zip code and see if that there is no too much vacancy. Probably you wouldn't want it to be over like 10%, and higher is no good. Then you look at the studio rent, for example, in the area. Rule of thumb, it's not exact science by any means. You take the studio rent in the area. If you would divide it by half, that would roughly give you a value of lot rent in that particular area. So from there, because again, underwriting parks, you wouldn't want to buy a park in the area that has lower than average market lot rents, simply because if it's kind of so down below, you won't be able to increase the value of your park, and it will take you years to get to market. So you just want to be mindful of that. And again, you will have maintenance the same way. You will have all the same expenses. It's just lot rents are really compressed, and you want to make sure that you have growth potential with your lot rents, and it won't take you decades to get there again, because you cannot be too aggressive on the rent raises, of course.
So I'm going to ask you a very uneducated question.
Oh, please.
That a lot of people that might be hearing about. I don't invest in mobile home yet. Mm-hmm. So, but I heard different things. So what are you referring to as you as an investor being the owner of the land only and renting that to the mobile home owners? Or are you saying I own the land and I also own the mobile homes and I rent that to people?
So both scenarios are very much possible, and very often they're a combination. In the mobile home community, it's usually a mix. You can also have some commercial structure, some storage units. You might have a little grocery shop in the front. You can have RV component too. You can have long-term RV. You can have short-term RV. It can be any. You can have on the marina. You can have all kinds of situations and scenarios. I think that is what makes mobile home park deals, properties so interesting, because there are so many different scenarios that are possible, and that I think that is very also exciting. So no one deal is similar to another. You have to look at it and see, evaluate it as a whole, and see where you can go with it, what you can make of it. And I absolutely understand. We're absolutely correct that probably the lowest maintenance situation when you just own a land and you rent the lots to park owners, and very often the turnaround plan will include selling off park-owned homes to tenants, so then they will be responsible for the maintenance that goes with the home, and you only provide them infrastructure, utilities, and the lot, actual lot.
I'm curious to also just get into your brain around like the best case scenario, right? Like I can name you the best case scenario from a multifamily perspective, probably. What would I love to see if it's like an A++ opportunity, right? I would not be able to tell you that right now for mobile home parks. I have no idea. Like I would just be winging it and totally making things up, to be honest with you. So if you were to say, you've bought, you're in a few different markets, correct? From a home,
That's right.
home park perspective. So what is like and this is an Andressa question, right? Because Andressa asks some very good specific questions, and I always forget to ask specific questions, but I'm asking it now, Andressa. You'll be proud of me. What is your criteria? Like, why are you laughing?
Because you're so funny. I'm curious to see what is an Andressa question. I don't know what that is.
I know, right? Well, specific, right? Not vague, specific. Like that's where Andressa usually comes from. But anyway, but yeah, for you, like, what is your, like, if it was an A++ opportunity, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is a no-brainer. We'll underwrite. But if you see these things, you're like, this is an amazing opportunity. What is it for you? Is there a value add opportunity? Is it one that has all these different things? Because you started to say that, I'm like, oh no, that would not always be the best multifamily opportunity, right? If it had some things that we weren't familiar with, like, no, let's stay with what we know, right? The bread and butter. So yeah, I just want to get to those things. What's your kind of like your criteria?
Yes, of course. For example, and you noticed from my really short bio in a mobile home park review, so from 3 years, we only purchased 2 parks. 2 parks, 3 years, 3 years ago I started my education, so you could say probably 2 years, 2 parks. Not too many parks, right? It's we under just 119 lots. We are LP in the 3rd park, but again, we're not the general partner in that. So why not so many? I think we are also going into deals with caution, and we would underwrite so many more deals. Like we would probably put 3 times that number. Well, we did put 3 times that in contract to be able to do due diligence on those parks, on those properties. And we only purchased after that. We only purchased 2. We wholesaled 1 on the way too. But at the same time, those opportunities, how some people say, well, we own hundreds of units, but it's all how much you can how much value you can extract out of those each unit, like value per unit. That's what really is important to my team. You could be broke with hundreds and you can really make a good living like with 50. So yeah. I'm a big believer in that. And I will give you an example. Ideal opportunity. So this is, I think we bought this opportunity in January. This is what we're looking for. Jackson, Michigan. It's Ann Arbor area, Michigan, if you know. So the opportunity was that it's a value add. It's a really big value add opportunity So out of 80 spaces, we had 45, I think, occupied. Half of them are tenant-owned homes. It's city water and sewer, not built back, which gives you immediately, okay, so you can build this back to tenants. We know that rents were just a little under market, not too much under market, but okay. We knew that the big opportunity was that there were also 35 park-owned homes in addition to the ones that were occupied, that were on the property, and probably half of them were in a pretty good condition, would require maybe a couple thousand worth of work, and we could infill them right up. We did our test marketing, and our burner phone was on fire. So we knew that we can rent, and we found a strategic partner in the area who would invest his own capital into renovating and getting them leased up. And here we are, quarter later, we infilled 22 lots and have everything for water submetered in place. Unfortunately, in Michigan, you cannot do any non-essential work. So our meters are in place, permits in hand. We're ready to install just as soon as. So this is the ideal situation. You want to know that you have right people in place and the right setup, that you can just infill and with low or no overhead, which was incredible, not having to invest money in the renovations of these homes. And you know that you can push, in the course of a year, you could probably double the value of the park.
So the gentleman who put his own money into renovating the units, was he a partner in the upside? What was his win out of this? Right. Just curious.
So he is the person who is a loan dealer, so to speak. What
kind of dealer?
It's called a loan dealer in a mobile home park industry. This is the person who you also want to be very careful with. Okay, you need to know there and there.
Oh boy, who is that person?
right.
This is fascinating.
So these are people who would come into your park. Let's say if you're a park owner, they will come into your park. They will buy a trailer or a mobile home from you. They will renovate it at their expense, and then they will become a landlord for someone else. So they will rent it out. Okay? So, but you have to always be careful not to have that one person own too many units in your park, because then they can turn against you if there's something they don't like. So you want to be very, very careful. That's why, for example, when you underwrite in a park and considering purchase, you want to know who owns each single home in the park, because you don't want to be in a situation then one person controls, I don't know, like 10%, 20% of your overall tenant base. And then if you decide to raise rent and he says, no, I don't think so, he threatens of moving his trailers out of your park and to a neighboring park. So you don't want that to happen.
It's like subleasing, right?
That's right.
That's
fascinating.
Yeah. So why we allowed this person to come in and work with us? First of all, pre-existing relationship. My partner, Nick, he owns a park an hour away from Jackson. So he had this contractor work with him in his previous park. And the only thing this partner, well, I call him partner because we treat him as a partner, but he does not have upside or cut in a deal. Okay. He just wants to rent. He wants just to buy, renovate, and rent out those units and live of the difference. And then he wants us to give him more deals and more homes so he can turn them around. Again. Exactly. So that's his only motivation. And of course, we have the paperwork in place saying exactly that.
I was going to ask that.
He is not to move homes out of the park in the, for the next, few years. And yeah, of course, there is no guarantee, but, that is in place and that's our agreement.
I think that's really fascinating. I think it's like we have a commercial building, right? And I would never want one tenant to have 50% of our building, right? Because if they move out, that's a tough one. That's why we split up a very large building into small tenants. So, I think it's fascinating. You learn about different niches and different asset classes. And then as you're talking and you're explaining what the different pieces, and obviously this is cursory, right? This is not like it's not like we know everything. Now I can feel comfortable buying a mobile home park. But I think it's fascinating because you can apply what you know to a new niche. It's not like this completely foreign, it's a pivot. We were just talking with another person in an interview and they pivoted, and I think that is a very fair pivot versus like very different than getting into something completely upside down. That's so like unrelated to what you're doing. But I think that's something to be mindful of, right? Because we can get pulled in all the time, but yeah, there's a time to pivot, especially depending on what's happening. And so how are mobile home parks from a recession perspective any different than other classes? Take multifamily. How are you better positioned owning a mobile home park versus an apartment building? Just, curious.
Sure. Well, first off, of course, the stimulus checks right now, they're coming, and I was at your virtual meetup, ladies, last week. So I heard your guest speakers, Anna Callie and, other ladies, they were talking about this. For some of those tenants who are in a lower paid bracket, for them, it's an upgrade. Those stimulus checks are a lot of money. And with our lot rent, across the United States, with the lot rent being around $350, you can, and having a stimulus check coming in, even like $1,200 for the family could be $2,400. You can afford yourself to pay rent for months, for months to come. So, and where else are you going to go? If you, let's say, God forbid, you had to downgrade from an apartment building to a mobile home community, but where else are you going to go after, right?
Interesting.
So this is a pretty much a backstop. We don't want it to be treated like a backstop. We really, I guess as all good operators, we're trying to be part of that community. We want it not to be a backstop. We want it to be a very nice community for people to live and raise families. But again, if we're just talking, budgets, where else are you going to go after? What can you possibly rent? 2 bed, 1 bath, less than $350 a month? What else?
Very good point.
What are the options, right?
It's a very good point.
And also, for example, we were having a quarterly call with our investors for the park that we have in Florida, and probably half of our tenant base there, it's in Panhandle area, they're on social programs. So we're getting paid. They're getting paid. We're getting paid, and our park with the expenses being, if it's city water sewer built back, your expenses maybe 35%, 35, somewhere between 30 and 40. Let's just kind of be a little concerned. 30 to 40, you can afford to run the park for, with a 50% tenants paying. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I have so many questions, but I'm going to ask the first one of my many questions, but I probably won't get to all of them. How do you collect rent? Is it the same type of like technology, different apps, or is there a different strategy with mobile home parks? Or is it just like every other rental that you pretty much put a process in place, put some technology in place, and you can do a lot of it online? I'm just thinking about the client base. And I'm just curious, how does that impact that type of virtual operations of what we're all going through?
For sure. So, a few weeks back with this new community, we implemented online payment. We never accepted cash. That is not happening, definitely. But it was checks, money orders previously. But now also they paying online. Now it's as important as ever. So yeah, it's pretty much regular. And then you would just make sure people know that there is new option to pay. And then again, our on-site manager, they will just scan checks, money orders with a check scanner, gets deposited into bank
Any
account.
like type of rental business, same kind of thing. I was just curious because sometimes depending on the class of environment, online rent collection. I know because we have buildings in different classes and our rent collection is a little different with a B environment than a C environment because people are just more used to that cash that they're holding and you got to reteach them different ways. So.
Yeah. But no, we definitely no cash, absolutely no cash. And we use Rent Manager, Rent. Yep. Online payment goes into Rent Manager the usual way. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool. Ekaterina, you've been so helpful here. I think there's so much to this, to mobile home parks, and you're going to see it really probably get more competitive in some ways, unfortunately. But what's neat about what you're involved in is that you already have the foot in, right? So it's all about how quickly can you make decisions on deals. So women listening, if you want to get involved in some of these different classes of investments, study it now, get experience now, because if you're like, oh, hold on, I need a week to let me run the numbers and run it by 19 people, like it won't be around. You know that, I know that. That's how the world is. And the longer you take, the less, opportunities. So if this niche intrigues you or another niche, learn it, study it now, now, not later, now. So your numbers, that 350 is the value lot per rent or, the exact way to say it. You need to know those numbers. So anyway, just want to say that. So without further ado, where can the women listening learn more about you and all the neat things you're up to?
The ladies can find me in a Facebook group called MHP Tribe. And this is where I announce also our monthly virtual meetups. So ladies from anywhere, any state can come and join and learn from our guests. MHP Tribe, also I just started posting quick calls with industry colleagues just to find out and bring the community a little closer together during these uncertain times, just to share and feel the bond and share experiences and tips and insights. And MHP Tribe is the best place to find me.
That's awesome. And all of this information is going to be on our show notes. Now we're going to transition to our fabulous 3 questions. And the first one is, what's the most transformational book you have ever read?
Transformational. Alchemist, Paulo Coelho.
Oh, my guy. He's Brazilian.
Oh, that's right. Oh, he's amazing.
He really is.
Amazing.
Awesome. The second question is, what's the most transformational routine that you do to create a financially free and balanced life?
That will be a health routine. Health is wealth. And this is the only way you can have energy to go through your day and do the things that you need to do. And on top of them, do the things that you want to do and accomplish it all. So health routine, for sure. Waking up, exercise every day, meditate every day, a lot of water, and eat clean, drink clean. This is the starting point. And the journal.
Awesome.
Yes.
And my last question for you is, which woman, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
Well, I would probably say that I cannot really point out one single one, but, women inspire me like every day. And it can be just a different times. For example, friends of mine ladies who just try things, and don't care too much about what other people will say. With that, I'm saying I have in mind, like a friend of mine, she really just inspired me yesterday. Absolutely. I was just thinking about her all day yesterday when I was doing the things that, I had to in the course of my day. And she would just go and try and put herself out there. She was inspiring me yesterday. I have another friend of mine, and when I'm really tired and I have so much going on, I always see, and it's really late at night, and she's out there, she's doing some things, and oh my God, this lady is just fantastic. And, I wish I could be more like her, and such a great work ethic. So yeah, it's not one, I'm sorry, but it's just, yeah, I guess different time, different people.
It's true though, right?
Yeah.
It's the everyday women in our world sometimes are the most inspiring too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ekaterina, thank you so much for being on our show and sharing all your great knowledge and your brain behind what deals you look for, and just sharing your wealth of knowledge with our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It was my absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure was totally ours. Thank you. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.